call the April 24th, 2024 Board of Public Works meeting to order. So if we can have a stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So, roll call. So we have Earl Webb, Richard Nichols, Barbara Curtis, Presley from the board here. We have Sharon and Mike Hoffman, our solicitor, Robin Davis as acting general manager and assistant general manager, ex officio Mayor Andrew, and Kim. All right, I've done my work. No, so first things, we're taking item 13 off the agenda, and it'll be back on the agenda potentially in May. Just general announcements. I think everyone is probably aware there will be no Board of Public Works election this year. Earl is going to be leaving us, and he's going to be replaced by Bob Heffernan. And we want to place a warm welcome to Bob. Bob's got lots of experience, but we're really going to miss Earl. Earl's expertise, and
We didn't figure out exactly what it was yet, but.
well, but we've been getting closer to it. Come on.
Thank you.
And we welcome back our solicitor, Mike Hoffman. So, moving on, the consent agenda. Anyone want anything pulled from it, or do I have a motion to approve?
I had a question about the customer contact details. In particular, the problem with the Smart Hub and PDFs not available online for the February bills. Has that been resolved? Do we know?
So as a matter of procedure, which report was that in?
That was in the contact detail. It was under tab 3.
It's the contact tracking. So anytime somebody calls in with a complaint or an issue, but it's not, it's got personal information on there, so it's not released.
Gotcha, but I would take a motion on the consent agenda, Tom, and then I think Barbara can ask the question. I would put that under the general manager's report for 6. So Barbara, if you can hold that question.
Okay.
Then we'll get to general manager and we'll ask that.
A motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And then on that point, we go to Inframark. Mike, Jeff?
Evening.
How you doing today?
We're doing great. Beautiful day out there today. So on the Headworks project, so I think I reported last week the EQ tank support was done, or last month, I'm sorry. The contractor's still waiting on the chute connecting the compactor to the 5mm screen. So that's no progress there for the month. Their contractor's doing the sealing of the floor grading. That's primarily what they're working on over this past month. The contractor did let us know that Ovivo pushed back their visit to later in May. So it says in my report that they were to be here next week, but that was pushed back to later in May. The pit cigarettes scheduled for delivery,
Like, do we have a date yet?
we do not. He said, I think he said 3 weeks, about 3 weeks, so. The pit cigarette is scheduled for delivery towards the end of May or early June. So any questions about the Headworks project?
Yes, I had a couple. It says in your report that the EQ tank repair is complete and the contractor has modified the floor grading to prevent corrosive gases and odors from leaving the waste steam channels. What's that all about?
Waste stream channel. Just there's channels so there's grading.
In the EQ tank?
No, in the Headworks, I'm sorry. That may not
Okay,
read
I was trying to
correctly, sorry.
picture that.
Yeah, no, it's in the Headworks building.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
So these are the grades you're talking about, right when you walk in from the oxidation ditches, right in that area.
Yeah, and on the second floor,
Right.
or the third floor. All right, the filters, regarding the filters, so last week we completed an acid recovery clean to train 1, which brought the TMPs way down. Train 1's in great shape. The Xenon report that came out yesterday was reporting on the first 2 weeks of the month. So we addressed train 1, and then train 4, we pulled it this morning. We pulled the first cassette to look to see if it was ragged or sludged up, and everything looked good. So we continued to try to figure out what was going wrong, and we found a failed solenoid valve that was preventing our chemicals for the maintenance washes to get into the tank for train 4. So we took that solenoid valve off, cleaned it up, put it back on. It's opening now, it's working. We're going to order another one, but that seems to be the issue with train 4. So,
How long was that? I mean, how many cycles did it miss?
well, we can't say, but when we did a recovery clean about a month ago, all the numbers came back, everything was good, and then we started, going backwards again, and so I think we figured out what the problem was. So she had made a comment about lowering the flow rate, which we were going to do, but, after we go through a couple of maintenance washes, I think everything will be good.
Mike, on the ragging issue, have you noticed a measurable difference from the time that we've got the agreement with the hospital and the ragging issue at pumping station 4, where blockages has decreased? Have you noticed a decrease on the ragging too?
We have. We haven't had any blockages, knock on wood, at Station 4 for, I think almost since Jeff's been here, so.
Same thing with the ragging?
18 months. So that was caused by the ragging. At the plant, it's hard to discern how much we're getting because it's going to the solids dumpster and it's in like a liquid slurry. But I would guess that because of the results we're seeing at Station 4, that it would be that the same.
It's really
Yeah. Our PS 18, our pump station 18, Drake Knoll, the staff's ordered materials to replace the old junction box in the wet well, and we also ordered a spare pump. The pumps are showing somewhere, so we're going to replace one of the pumps and send the other one out to Hills for rebuild. And then on the projects at the plant, the liquid sludge loading connection and the foam pump modifications, we have a PO's been issued to Harry Caswell. Charlie had been in contact with them. They were just waiting on the pipe supports. for both these projects, which were anticipated to come in this week, and we anticipate having that scheduled before next meeting. And then the 5-ton crane repair, we're continue to wait on a proposal from Crane One. I just checked with Charlie from GMB, and he let me know that they had not gotten back to him. He's reached out to him several times, so we just discussed that we're going to look for a new contractor. And Jeff had the idea of seeing if it's something that M2 can do. So we're going to reach out to them tomorrow. And then I had a mistake on the report, and the nutrient graph, it was showing, I think, 0.05 for total nitrogen. That was a mistake. It's 5.08 and 36 pounds a day, and the DMR is correct. So Jeff caught it before submitted the DMR. That's all I got. Anybody have any questions?
I guess we're in receipt of the master agreement, a master electrician amendment. You signed it.
Yep.
And so we've accepted it, and we can just move forward now.
Okay, then we'll get that credit issued ASAP.
Mike, there's nothing else we need to do, I think.
I have it. I have to run it through to finalize it. So we'll ball's in my court, but we'll close the loop.
One of our customer contact things that we had in this particular book talks about a burgundy truck that someone from your firm was driving. They've been asked to slow down several times by a person.
Okay.
And all they get was mimicking and mocking.
Austin had let us know about that, and I think it was addressed. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, and the gentleman has been warned.
Anything you guys do reflects on all of us.
Understood, and what he does reflects on us, so we're very sensitive to that, so I apologize.
Any other questions?
Yeah, it looked like there were some problems on the lift stations on Monroe, where you couldn't open the lock to check the panel alarms. It doesn't say whether that's been closed out.
It's the E2s they have, or the E1s, they have those funny locks.
I think that's been addressed. The operator who went out there just couldn't get that lock open.
Okay. And I guess there was a problem with dirt pushed against the substation panel, and they couldn't test the alarms. That was also Monroe.
No, I think that was a new pump station reference. The new pump station, what is it, Waterfront?
LS 25, it's work order number 3153.
We're training somebody to do our e-maintenance, and we found some mistakes, 3153.
Yeah, I was going to point that out too. It looks like some of the things just get dropped off, and it doesn't make the cells big enough or something to print it all.
Right there. Yeah, it does say Monroe.
Okay, yeah, that was addressed. That was closed out. Yeah, he closed it up. Yeah, that was addressed.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? All right.
Thank you guys
Thank
very
you.
much.
Have a good evening. Thank you.
President's report. So, let me find it. So, amazingly, my meeting schedule was like this last month. We've met with the county multiple times on the wastewater treatment plant. We think things are moving forward there. but hopefully we'll have a better feel in the next week or two. City leadership meeting routine between either Austin and Robin and I and the city, Andrew and Ellen Lorraine. And there was the joint workshop just this Monday. And what did we set for the follow-on date?
It was,
June
June
something?
29th at 1.
Thank you. So the next workshop will be June 29th at 1 p.m. Okay. After Monday's workshop, we met with Burton subdivision folks. I see Brenda's here, Kerry and Mike were in attendance, as were Robin, myself, Richard Nichols, and Emmett and Eric from the water department. So first, I really want to thank Brenda and Kerry for the open dialogue and very frank dialogue, but it's the way things need to be handled. And I want to assure them that, and we have discussed it somewhat with the board, and it will be more, that the board and the board staff take this very seriously. So, we came up with some action plan for going forward, and I will be able to get that back to you guys as a draft in the next day or so. So on that point, and that action plan was jointly developed by both the Burton folks and us. And hopefully by the time it gets issued, we will have buy-in. It is a living document going forward. And so it's subject to change based upon testing, coupons, other things, as far as prioritization of streets. The board is fully committed to, and it is in our plan to do 4th Street. And we're looking at how to move monies around to potentially do more. The 4th Street project has been on our capital plan since 2020. For some of the items that will be are in the action items, we're still trying to develop schedules for, like testing and such. But that hopefully will get closed out before I issue them the draft, or very soon thereafter. And that's about what I have on that. But look forward to, we've agreed to have continuing meetings going forward, and that, at any time the Burton folks want, they can come and address the board. The other thing I just want to put up, I think everyone knows, Austin Kalaman, our general manager, will be back on Monday. Baby Kate is doing well. They actually got 5 hours sleep the last 2 nights. So all's looking up. Moving on. Receive the general manager's report.
All right, first of all, I just want to remind everybody that Saturday, April 27th, is Couch's release. Oh, sorry. I can start over.
No, you're good.
Saturday from 10 to 2, invite any of the members of the board that would like to come out and assist. There's usually 3 or 4 of us come out from the staff, and so.
That's been kind of a tradition.
Yeah.
I think it's a great time to meet with the residents and our ratepayers, and they seem to love it, and I think we have a good time too.
I fielded a lot of calls so far. Usually I don't get this many calls, so
Really?
I
That's-
hope you might have a good turnout.
Great.
But there's something's happening at the ferry on the same day.
The ferry
drug-
does the drug take back.
Drug
too. They
take back,
also do
so we're
drug
not
take.
doing it with the police department.
As
in
far as I
Lewes.
know, the police department is still doing it. They did, last time they did it out to the ferry too.
URBA police
Yeah.
do it there,
Correct, yeah.
and we do it.
It's a national thing, so everybody's usually doing it.
okay.
It's not just us.
Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
that's how actually the hazardous waste take back day gets done, set, is it is to piggyback on, the drug.
Drug take
And,
back, yeah.
We do it because this way they don't have to go two different places.
Makes sense.
Yeah, thanks for, Robin, for
Yep.
putting that up.
We attended the council meeting for April. We also had, like Tom said, the joint meeting with city council. Attended some progress meetings for the Headworks project, the Dunham and Smith Mobile Home Park, Fisher's Cove. The leadership meeting, as Tom discussed. Continued discussion and meeting with Sussex County on the long-range plan. Staff is continuing to work with GMB and the developer on closeouts of some of our subdivisions, Mariners Retreat, White's Pond Meadows, and I think we've got a walkthrough coming up for Willow's Waterfront Preserve on Friday, I think.
Old Town next week.
Oh, yeah, Old Town's next week also, yeah, that's correct. Staff's been working 120 Water, getting ready to send out customer verification surveys. That's in relationship to the lead and copper rule. We sent out education letters for the cross connection control plan. Went through Roosevelt Landing site plan review with GMB. Got a couple pole attachment agreement applications. One's with Crown Castle, and one's with Chantel, just dropped another one off. But I have not had a chance to review that. And then we attended a virtual meeting. Tom, I think Charlie was there for the Cape and Lope State Park sewer. That's about all I had. I don't know if Sharon wants to talk about.
We did put up on the website just some education websites, the cross connection. HydroCorp provided a link and the website gives a good explanation. There's a video and everything for customers to get on and take a look and see what's actually gonna be coming, what's gonna be expected of the customers. And I did put something up about the lead and copper rule on the website as well. And I am working with Barbara. We've got a meeting set to work on PFAS as well.
We're getting a lot of information out there. Sharon's did a great job getting stuff out there on the website for our customers, so. Kim, you got anything?
No.
Okay,
Does she have her question?
no,
So for the PDFs last month, NISC is a partnership with Smart Hub, and Smart Hub is obviously the portal that people pay their online bill payments to. They upgraded their website, Smart Hub did, and we were required by the end of the month to transition to that. With that transition came a little bit of a glitch there. It was fixed within a week. Customers could still see their grand total, they just couldn't see the entire breakdown of their costs. So when they called in, we did email it to them. So, but it's resolved now.
It's done,
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
Yep.
And I lied, I do have something. We did start the audit, all the paperwork is starting to go to the auditors for their review. So more to come on that. I know you guys are excited about all of it.
and just one more, just as I said at the last meeting, the APPA National Conference is in June, if anybody's looking to attend.
The DEMEC meeting coming up too.
Oh, not
No.
DEMEC, sorry.
June 5th,
June 5th, yeah.
June 5th,
Yeah, June.
it's up here.
That's next.
Wow.
I
We
think
do have-
several members
We do have a
already-
couple signed up to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else? All right, moving on. So first item for new business.
Tom, if I may interrupt you, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm gonna ask, I see Ring is here, he's going to be talking about item number.
I can wait, it's fine.
Okay, I didn't know if he enjoyed just sitting here watching our
I do.
meetings.
Well, how about, we'll move to the next item. Let's do the first one. because I'd like to get this
He's
over.
fine, I just was trying to,
It'll be quick.
had somewhere to be.
It'll be quick. So item 7 is open discussion on legal contract services with Connelly Gallagher, specifically related to Mike Hoffman. Any questions? Discussion?
No questions here? Looks good.
I have a motion?
I move that we accept the engagement letter.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye. Thanks,
The
Mike.
clock starts now.
Yeah,
Full now work.
should have held it to the end. What are you talking about?
You know, I didn't think of that.
Yeah. Trip down, you can't count.
So, why don't we go to item 10 next then, let Ring go. These are,
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, staff, and public. A couple months ago, we had requested on behalf of Mitchell's Corner LLC for a permanent easement and a temporary construction easement for a sidewalk to be located what I call the Jones Farm and the Wellfield property. Those are the two properties located between Clay Road and the Cape Henlopen High School. The reason for that request is as part of the Mitchell's Corner development, part of the interim improvements to help dualize the highway before DOT is ready to begin their finalized design and construction. We're doing some improvements, and one of the requirements was to build a sidewalk from Clay Road to the Cape Henlopen High School to bridge the gap so there would be a safe pedestrian passage between Clay Road and the high school. To put that request together, sent it in, there's a question regarding compensation. So we provided some additional information to both Todd Lawson and Sussex County, because you all know you're tri-owners of the Jones Farm and by-owners of the Wellfield property. We provided additional information to Robin and Austin, Ellen Lorraine, and Todd. I believe that's been passed on to the board and discussed. And I did bring some exhibits with me in case we needed to. As you recall, in February, DOT presented Grand Plan number 2 of the dualization of the highway. Part of that plan included DOT building this sidewalk similar to what we're proposing, easement acquisition, right-of-way acquisition on their plans, even though they're not ready to begin that. So in essence, our request today is the permission granting of the easement with the compensation of us building the sidewalk in lieu of cash to provide a safe passage for the students of the Cape Henlopen High School.
one question.
Sure.
Arno. Is this a multi-use path or strictly a sidewalk?
Shared use path.
Is it shared use?
Yes, sir.
So with that, open up to questions?
There's a drawing on C810,
Yes, sir.
shows the entrance to the school. If
Yes, sir.
I'm reading it correctly. Isn't there supposed to be a roundabout there?
There will be scheduled DOT head online says somewhere in FY 2030. I'll probably say 2036, but I have no idea when DOT will finally get to the point of design, right-of-way acquisition, and construction. So we're keeping the intersections as proposed and just dualizing to provide some additional flow from the ferry out towards Route 1.
So the sidewalk's going to be permanent.
Temporarily permanent until DOT comes in. There'll be some modifications part of their project, at least at the roundabout. The rest of the sidewalk or the shared use path should remain, but at least where the roundabout is, there will be some modification as part of their project.
In looking at the photographs, it's not entirely clear to me whether the entrance to the water treatment plant and fencing and the utility poles are involved in your request for the easement?
The poles are not being removed. We're squeezing the shared use path, we're necking it down because there's a big valve vault there, some other things, so we're necking the path down to that area so as not to disturb it. I don't believe the fence needs to be relocated. If so, that would be done by the contractor under the supervision of BPW, of course.
Actually, we're planning on replacing all the fencing out there. We're going out
Yes,
for
they can do
grants.
I don't know about all the fence, but I'm sure we can work with you as far as that segment.
Because
accordingly.
for security in the well field in general, and my concerns, and I was gonna direct, staff to work with you, is the angle of, you're narrowing the bike path, and it's going tight between the pole and the vault.
Yes, sir, it'll be tight. Yes, sir.
And, from a liability concern, we can move the fence back, the vault is locked, so that's fine. But that the grading would have to make sure that it's safe from, the vault.
And DOT will require the same thing. So if there's a steep drop off, it may modify and put a curb up to keep someone from falling off that path, and we'll work with DOT should that be necessary. But we've done that before where we have a steep drop off. We find other ways to mitigate that to keep a safe access. And DOT will be looking at that the same way as I'm sure the staff will be reviewing it during the construction.
Showing the design of it, but
Yep.
there's plenty of grade between the road and the vault.
Yes, sir.
So, I mean,
I'm sure we can work it out, and so I'm not overly concerned about it.
I just want to make sure that, as part of the easement, we don't take on additional liability.
At that same point that you're talking about, that's pretty sharp narrowing.
Yes, sir. Yep.
And I'm worried about bikes particularly coming down there, and that shouldn't be on that side of the path, but hitting that turn.
DOT's reviewed it. DOT's ready to approve the plans. One of the approval requirements is the easement in question. So DOT and their whole pedestrian section, they've all reviewed the plans, and so far they have no issues with the configuration of the shared use path or the grading.
But I think that turning in.
I understand. I understand
and
what you're saying.
It could be a safety hazard.
A lot of, like everything else, perhaps we kind of get it approved on paper, then we kind of make common sense in the field, and I'm sure we can work through the common sense aspect of things when we get to construction.
Well, DelDOT also approved the S-turn,
Well, all right, fair enough, fair enough.
which, with a bollard in the middle of it, which I dare anyone to negotiate.
I don't disagree, sir.
No, I think there's a real need for that. It's green.
I think so. I think it'd be a road safety improvement up until DOT's ready to start. I agree.
What about access for repairs and maintenance to the utility pole or whatever is going to be encroached by the construction and the final path installation?
Actually, the entire easement excludes the pole.
I'll say, the easements are behind the poles. The poles aren't being moved. The poles are staying right where they are. We're putting everything behind the poles.
Right, and their easement doesn't give them rights to the pole, the
Okay,
area underneath the pole.
so the poles are accessible.
From the street like they are today.
Okay.
My concern is that when you have a narrowing of the path, that's a safety hazard. Would it make more sense to make the whole thing narrower so you don't have a bottleneck formed?
But be more gradual at least,
Yeah, well,
When we say narrow, Ms. Curtis, I mean, it's 8 foot. It's not like narrow of 6 foot. You go from 10 to 8 just to squeeze it through there, and we can work on the tapering. DOT's preference is to keep the path 10 foot for as long as possible with minimal reduction. Just no difference than if we have an ADA path, you're allowed to restrict it to 32 inches for a certain distance, and you have to go back out to the full width. That's kind of what we're doing here, is we're doing a brief neck down to get through that area, and then it goes back to 10 foot wide. And it's done all over the place. Rehoboth has it. I did one at Shoal Harbor through that area, so that they're in there. It looks, a lot of things, some looks a little more egregious on paper. When you actually get in the field, it doesn't look as egregious. And again, that's something we can work on, and it is a concern shared by the developer as well as the board.
I think the only thing I have is, again, the permanent easement goes to the corner of that vault, as it's shown. Will that need to be adjusted? Are we gonna give you a permanent easement to the corner of our vault?
Oh, yeah, actually, the way the drawing shows it, for the vault, the corner, is in the easement. But actually, I think when I went back and looked at it, I think the easement line goes around it, but it needs to be adjusted so that no part of our vault is in the easement.
Hey, Ring, I got a plate up.
Visually impaired.
Yeah, see that? See the vault, see the vault?
We can move on, even if you want to go around the ball, we can do that. I will tell you, the donut has that even going to straight enough we do. Just for what it's worth from an ease of description, but if you want to go around the ball, we can make that adjustment. That's not the end of the world.
Wouldn't the
Yeah, I mean,
fence
it's all-
reinstallation between the end of the edge of the sidewalk and the vault be a prevention of intrusion onto the vault or tripping or?
It could
Fence
be,
that
but
close to a narrow bike path.
typically you want the fence to be covered, but you don't want the handlebars to catch it and everything else. I don't think it'd be really,
And if you look at the fence on the other side of the entrance is back 15 feet. It's
Yeah.
behind the sign.
Right,
So this fence, and judging by how beat up this is, when it was out
Yes.
there, is probably was put in 40, 50 years ago. If not more, because it's painted green. So I think, I leave this to them, you know, however best to fence off the well field.
Yeah, if the board's okay with the vault being out in the street now, street side, outside the fence.
What's in the
But it
vault?
is locked.
It's locked, yes, that's correct.
What's in the vault?
There's two valves, I think. Valves, one of them's for the tide water valve and one of them's for the valve that goes across the street.
that's the interconnection vault, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, I mean, it's underground, it's all locked, so it's not like anybody's gonna be able to, I'll say tamper with it, I don't wanna say that, but. But it's now inside the fence area, and it looks like it might be outside the fence area now.
Yeah, but how many other valves do we have outside of the fence?
Yeah, we got valves, we got pump stations, we got all kinds of stuff outside the fence area. It's just, again,
Don't
It's a shame.
publicize it.
It's a shame that it's raised up, 6 inches or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't quite understand.
That was only built a few years ago.
could part of this
We made a
project
connection
include
with Tidewater.
elevating the land around it so that it's not a hazard?
I think that's what Ring said,
Well,
either put something, a curbing or something,
Relative.
so you're not gonna get up on the vault.
I mean, if I don't have the grading plan in front of me to figure it out, but I mean, I'm sure there's a way, if it makes sense to raise the ground around it so that the valve vault's flush,
Yeah,
that makes sense. And like I said, again, the purpose of temporary easement is to give us additional room for grading and everything else.
I think
And
that'd
I
make
think
it
that's something
safer.
we can work out.
Yeah.
Again, one thing we can work out in the field to take a look at and say, okay, this makes sense to, let's raise the earth around it and what have you, so.
So do you have a list of all the things you're going to change?
Yes.
Can you pave some roads for us?
That part I can't help you with, but some other things, we have some leeway.
No, but seriously, I'll make sure we get to them at some point.
The only thing on, once again, the details of raising the grade, I could not see what the construction of the vault was, if that upper, where the lid sits on, is watertight or not. And that might be why it was set this way.
And
It might have to be a
that's,
little
Speculating.
and that's something, like I said, I think we can work with the staff and when we get to that point, work it out. And last thing we'll do is flat out the vault and everything else, and we can work with the staff on those. To me, those, I think, details that the staff and the contractor can work out as part of the pre-construction and other discussions.
Could we see that before it's finalized and before it's put out for bid? There's changes.
Well, the change, Mr. Lee, we wouldn't have on paper, it'd be, we're in the field
You gonna do it in the
contractor.
field?
And that'd be it'd be a field change.
I don't know why we couldn't get something worked out in advance.
So my recommendation here, and so I think it's on the agenda here today, to take the temperature of the board and in terms of is this thumbs up, thumbs down. There are some legal questions that I have to
Good.
bounce off of.
Mr. Hutt.
Yep.
Yep.
And And so that's on my list. To answer your question, Press, I've got the list of the things that the board asked. So
Okay.
I can incorporate that
Into the approval?
in the draft, and then we'll come back in the May meeting for the formal vote, and we'll see what, in terms of documentation, we can do.
Okay.
That's fine.
And we'll take, and Mr. Lee, we'll take a look at it, I'll see what we have grade-wise and see if we can't figure out ahead of time, but like I said, I like some flexibility in the field, as you well know, it kind of helps at the same time, so.
To have it memorialized so that if it's forgotten,
Yep, understood, yes, sir.
In the photograph, it looks like there's a little green telephone box right next to the utility pole.
It's actually a stub of a conduit, I believe.
And is that anything to do with communication or connection to the water plant that needs to be?
It had a cap on it, and
I doubt it.
It looked like it was, I mean, the way placement of it, it looks like it was for a down drop, but I did not feel comfortable trying to take the top off of it.
No, but I mean, is there, do we know that this, if this is disturbed to put in the walkway, that it has an impact on the water treatment plant?
There's some other pipes in there too, near the tree line. Looks like there's something sticking up.
Right, the path goes in front of those,
Yeah. No, right through those, right? It comes up to the vault. Are those wellheads?
you know what? Damn it, you were looking for that extra well.
It's, Mr. Lee, to answer your question, if it's there, we're required, if we impact it, we're required to adjust accordingly, maintain operation during the entire construction and everything else, so we'll be able to validate. If it serves the facility, then we'll ensure the facility has communication, if that's what it is. More than likely, it's every other Verizon thing, they've just kind of killed it, forgotten about it, and they just leave it the way it is, but we'll make sure, again, that's the contractor's due diligence requirement to maintain service during the construction.
I mean, I think we want to direct Mike and staff to work out the details, give them the groundworks, and not try to design it here.
Yes.
Guilty as charged.
I mean, absolutely.
And I guess the only one, just to reemphasize for the record, is the request that we have made for funding or money for the easement. We agree with the county and the city that we're okay with zero reimbursement.
Okay, great, thank you.
The one thing I did mention, how about time for legal review? Because theoretically, he's in conversations with HUD about it. I mean, we don't need the sidewalk. So would they be consider reimbursement for time? Because Alex is gonna look at it on our side and Mike's gonna look at it for the DPW.
You can always pose the question. So far, we haven't asked any reimbursement, well, about legal fees or anything else. It hasn't come up till just now. To be fair, Mayor, I just first, so, yep.
And you're asking because of the fact that the land is titled in both of our names?
Yeah, 'cause we're gonna have to do this, my understanding is gonna be on our agenda.
It's on your agenda, May 13th, I know that. Lorraine called me on Friday, so I know that much. And you said Alex is reviewing that on behalf of the city, or? Yeah. Yes, sir, okay. I'll let my client know, at least you brought up today.
Any other questions for Wayne?
Thank you very much for your consideration and really appreciate it. And Mr. Webb, to follow up on a previous conversation with my other hat on, I know Robin's is working on some dates for site visits to go see underground, hopefully before you come off the board, if not, best wishes.
thank you.
Thank you, have a great evening.
Hey, Rick. Yeah, Rick said something about after the 6th of May, maybe possibly sometime.
Yeah, I'm on vacation the week of the 6th, so when I get back, works for my.
So go back to 8. Open forum, general discussion on the use of the 2021 Community Reinvestment Funds, surplus of $25,000. Robin, Kim?
Well, I'll try to get some back history on this. Evidently, this thing has been since the Darren days. As you see in the letter that was submitted, there was a return letter from the state saying that we had received $25,000 for capital improvements from a bond bill in 2022. Going down, there's an email that was attached that kind of gives you the broad use of these funds. I think Austin's been kicking around how just looking to use these funds. Kind of narrowed it down to, we just purchased a bucket truck that everybody knew that we just did it, we got it. I don't think we paid for it yet, but we've got it. Just came in, about $30,000 worth. The 330. Oh, that was good. That was a cheap price. Well, yeah, how come we only got one?
This is,
Let's go to get one.
Yeah, especially if you're going to use the $25,000 worth.
Yeah.
After speaking with Austin, maybe that was a good suggestion and recommendation that we use the $25,000 for that, because it can be covered under your exact acquisition or installation of apparatus or equipment.
so we have a motion,
Moved.
Second?
in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Open forum general discussions on the proposal from Potomac Testing for switches and relay replacements in at the substation.
Okay, this is my area of less knowledge. So I kind of talked to Red about this, and these are the switches at the substation. They're on Slay Avenue. Potomac's been doing this work for us for years. They're kind of like our sole source for all this type of work. The switches are used to basically shut down the power if needed. Staff has been having a hard time maintaining. These switches are hard to operate. They're old. He said he's been nursing them along for a couple of years now. The example that he used, I don't think he could open the switches when the squirrel took down the power line recently. He brought that up today. So, again, this is the replacement of those switches, the first estimate for that.
So the switches are past the end of life, and it's a safety issue. So that's on that one. On the relays,
The screens are all faded and they're all outdated too. You can't read any of the information on the relays of the screens. The new ones, the way Rhett was talking, the new relays will allow for testing without shutting everything down. They're a new design somehow. Again, I'm very not familiar with them, but that's what Rhett was saying. And also, if you look in the quote is also for the required 2-year testing. So we would be charged every 2 years part of this anyway. I don't know exactly how it's broken down. So the price of whatever it was, $133,000, some of that was going to be for testing, not just a replacement of the relays.
Now, were we required to go out for bid for this?
Yeah, so the short answer is we were asked that, we took a look at it, and it's a layered analysis, and I'm happy to chat and walk you through it.
Okay.
But this has been greenlit for today's agenda.
There are two proposals here, is that correct? One in
Yes.
February and one in April?
Yes, because they did the switches and the relays in 2 separate contracts, because they're 2 separate types of jobs.
Okay.
And the lead times on the switches, as is noted in there, is 18 to 20 weeks. So it's a little time lag in there. So they might be doing the relays first. So that's why they're broken down into 2 separate the contractor wanted to do it that way.
Looking at the April 17, one of the items says on the dots, details, provide mounting cover plates on switchgear breaker doors. Does that include the installation, or is that the term of art that says provide, supplying and installing?
Which,
The dots, third dot down,
the third dot down on the switches?
17, yeah.
on the April 17 proposal.
Oh, the relay, not the, okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was switches, I'm sorry.
Right.
That's what,
I would assume, I don't know, I'd have to go back and ask, but I'm pretty sure it's the installation of them too.
Part of it, yeah.
Correct.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
It
that's,
says provide and install SEL relays, trip links.
No, the next one downtown.
Yeah, the next one, provide mounting and cover plates on the switchgear door. That's part of the installation of the relay.
Okay.
I had questions about the proposal notes and clarifications on the back. And I don't know, Mike, if you've looked at those yet, but, you know, particularly number 5, which says that any startup demonstration, pre-functional tests, commissioning, training, load balancing, voltage checks, et cetera, are excluded from this proposal. And I would think we want them included in the proposal.
But again, as I talked to Red about this, normally they do give some sort of training and work the staff through that. As far as a setting like an all-day training course to do this, that's not part of this quote, that's what they're saying. But they do give them some informational background and go through the startup with it, but they don't do like a training class as part of this quote.
Right, but hopefully they'll do pre-functional tests and commissioning. And I mean, I think that should be.
Yeah, I think,
And Barbara, just so I did take a look at these.
Yeah.
There is the proposal is contingent on an agreement that follows within 30 days. So you do have these other pieces here. Now, my guess is that it's a standard agreement. I haven't seen it. It's one thing that we would certainly request. Is there a timing component on this, Robin?
The biggest thing is it takes 18 to 20 weeks to get them.
Right. So if the board wanted that information and some of this other information for action, we can request that and we can be prepared to come back in May. The caveat is then you lose that time
Correct. That's correct.
on the work. So, but it's the will of the board.
if you go to the scope of work, the second bullet from the end is develop new settings specific to the SEL relays and based on our coordination study. And the last bullet is program, do the logic setup, functional trip tests on site. So
Is there a quantity or, and variations of that testing that's included?
it's whatever specified by the OEM manufacturer
Okay.
for testing that relay.
Okay.
So what I think.
What's a manufacturer's recommendation for the installer?
Right, yeah, because if you don't install according to the manufacturer's installation and test,
Right?
it's not a certified device. And I feel what's happened is that this is boilerplate on the back, because when I read the one that you were concerned about, load balancing has nothing to do with these relays. There's a lot of things in here that are.
Lawyers. You have something to take out.
Yeah, they've got it on the back of the other proposal as well.
Right.
Right, and they're also not gonna clean up after themselves, they said. Any cleaning from construction or environmental dirt and debris has not been included.
Well, Rhett said they usually come in vans and they do take all their small debris, but Rhett is always, the guys have always, anything that's gotta go in the dumpster, they take. It's always been the way, it's nothing new. They just don't have some of the bigger stuff they can't take in their vans.
So,
Does any
Plus
guy,
27
We'll replace
just-
transformer insulators
Yeah,
and things like
correct.
that. A person from my background, the scope is
Yeah,
pretty
right, right.
airtight, I think. The legal analysis is separate, but
they refer to electrical tests as described in specification, because that's manufacturer's specification. I'm looking at the notes from the relays. It's number 3.
oh, the notes, I'm sorry. Any electrical test is described in specifications are included.
Specifications.
Once again, if you don't test to the OEM, the device is not certified. So I think this is open-ended, like,
Okay, but it's not something that involves GMB or,
no,
No.
GME doesn't do electrical
okay.
yet.
We will test ourselves for COVID.
I could train them on doing electrical things, but
I think there's a drug
think-
test in here too, by the way.
Yeah, it says they don't do it. They
That's
don't do
good.
it.
But, you know, I think it's open-ended like that, because it could be either the OEM manuals for determining it, or other things have, the customer can specify.
That would be covered in the subsequent contract.
Well, yeah, that's why I think this is left open-ended to specification, lowercase.
Testing.
Okay.
So Mike, you're okay with it? I mean, with the, any legalities?
So with the caveat, so the proposal is predominantly scope. I read the additional provisions as kind of as their boilerplate. And so if there's anything in there that causes the board major heartburn, we can push back and we can go back, but I read it as boilerplate. I have not seen their standard agreement that has to be executed within 30 days, but that says both parties have to agree. So when we see it, we have the opportunity to comment. So that's a roundabout answer to your question.
But as far as the bidding issue, you don't have any concerns about that, we're okay to bid?
It's so the bidding part, and I'll put it to this, so it's, as you would imagine, it's nuanced. And so, you know, my recommendation is if that is something that you want to talk about before you're comfortable moving forward, I'm happy to have that conversation. But it's a layered analysis. We did consider that question, and it's been greenlit to be considered by the board. But I can discuss the details, and if you prefer to kind of walk through that, then, you know, you can defer to the May meeting, any action on this, but it's, there's a lot of layers to it.
I guess we could also take this up in executive session and then go back into open session.
Yes.
I'm just trying
As
to get
long
things
as-
off our plate.
Yes, no, so yeah, the answer is you can do that. The only thing that you would have to do is you would have to make an announcement that you intend to put it
Continue the
for
meeting.
action after the executive session. But yes, you can do that.
So, I want to make use of the day, and it looks like we're going through things fairly quickly, and so if everyone's okay, either with the motion to approve, contingent upon the subsequent getting the terms and conditions.
No, I would, Tom, I would just
defer.
say we'll defer, but just make clear on the record that you will be taking this item up when you return from executive session today.
What he just said. We're going to defer on this, and we will reconvene after the executive session.
I make a motion, we do that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. right, we went through the easements, open forum general discussion on power cost impacts on BPW rates. So this is gonna be Robin and Kim. So tell us what good news you have, Kim.
Well, I don't have any, but
All right, then we move on. Next item.
I want to give you a synopsis of what has happened. Indian River Coal Plant was shut down, but put into reliability must-run status, which resulted in large power cost increases for Delaware Peninsula in 2022. There has been no new generation resources to replace the coal plant, creating a capacity shortfall. The generator owners petitioned for higher revenues for the higher demand, which the circuit court granted. And if any of you guys took any economics classes, prices go up when supply goes down, but demand stays high. This will result in a 10.14% increase in our power costs from DEMEC. Okay. So with all of that good news,
But it's not due to DEMEC.
no,
They're merely-
that's our joint action agency who we purchase power from.
It's their wholesale agreement that they supply.
Yes.
Don't want in any way blame this on DEMEC.
No way is it DEMEC's fault. In fact, they were part of the people that fought this to try to get us to not have this increase. So with that, there are a few options that we can do. I want to run through a scenario of getting a loan from DEMEC through their line of credit. With that scenario, we can defer the increases for the customers or slowly put them in place. That will be better for our customers in the short term, but in the long term, we are going to be paying back more money. It'll be a 6.8% interest rate, which is 1.5 over SOFR. So staff recommendation is to not do that.
I know if you said the amount of money we were talking about was for this
Oh,
calendar
sorry.
year is 287,000?
For this loan, they wrote it up for $359,000,
Okay.
which, we can change prices and everything. And then I created a spreadsheet to show the impact of the option of doing a 10.14% increase to the commodity rates, only the commodity, not the fixed charges. And if we ran it through our PCA. So the 10.14% increase for an average residential customer of 850 kilowatt hours, it would be an increase of about $11 a month. For commercial, for 2,000 kilowatt hours, it would be a $28 increase. And for industrial, it would be about a $700 increase. If we do no increase to the rates and we run it through our PCA, which is a power cost adjustment, that runs on a 6-month history, that would result in almost identical for residential and commercial for a $12 increase and a $28 increase. Industrial would see a little bit higher of an increase of $1,200, and that's using the same averages of 850 kilowatt hours for residential, 2,000 for commercial, and 89,000 for industrial. I did pull out SPI as a key account. They do skew the numbers a little bit for industrial on the average user of what their effects would be. So that can range anywhere from $3,000 to $6,000 monthly.
Additional or
Additional that they will be paying. If we run it through the PCA, that means we are going to be covering that expense from our reserves. So if we are doing that, the expenses are going up, our revenues are not. So that takes that 6 months and we'll be covering about $285,000.
We already had your reserve.
Yes. So that would be a slower brunt to the customer, which I think is like the middle ground between taking a loan out from DEMEC to doing an increase, but we are putting ourselves in a worse cash situation if we do that. Yes, which would roll over into following years.
And doing it through the PCA, we know we're gonna have to be raising rates, electric rates in the future. We already have some insight into what the thoughts are for the next auction. So it seems like taking the rate increase, because to the customer, they're gonna, it's Mox Nix. I mean, they're gonna pay either a higher PCA and a lower commodity charge, which actually disincentivizes using, conserving energy, or running it strictly in the rate side and keeping the PCA constant for what it's really meant for is fluctuations.
And this would go into effect on the June bill for May usage is when we start getting the higher rate.
We'll continue to,
For DEMEC's budget, it goes out until December 31st, and then they introduce a new budget, usually in November-ish, and they'll give us the new rate, which right now, they're expecting to be close to this rate, so hopefully no big increases to our power costs. But as we know, what's going on with generators, they could change. I would recommend doing the increase, the 10.14% to the commodity.
I agree.
I do too.
I have a motion then to approve the charges, the increases going to the commodity and maintaining the PCA constant.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And, you know, for the public, we recognize this is an impact. However, these are externalities that are not within the BPW's control. They're not in DEMEC's control. The courts ruled this way, and, you know, we have to take what the courts say and move forward.
This is not the only, we're not the only people affected by this.
No, I mean, this,
It'll be across Delmarva.
yeah, and it's not only DEMEC, it's everyone
Yeah,
on
the
Delmarva.
co-op, Delmarva Power, they're all gonna be affected.
Co-op. Yeah. Okay,
Good analysis.
Okay,
thank you. Next item, we took off the agenda, open forum, general discussion on water, sewer.
Number
14?
DEMEC grip.
Oh, I'm sorry. Right, I'm sorry. All right. Are we gonna cover DEMEC?
Yes.
So, open forum, general discussion on the DEMEC GRIP letter of commitment.
Well, at the last month's meeting, the board approved the letter that was going to be sent out as far as the funding and things like that. Evidently, the DOE has new requirements this year for this year's submission. Evidently, it was on the note that was some for last year. Now they're going to require the project cost data needs to be included. And it was a general information survey about services, equipment, number of equipment, stuff like that, that Sharon has filled out.
It's already sent back.
we're getting the updated figures from AMP, that they'll supply us with the updated information that's needed for this. The letter with all the supporting documentation needs to be returned back to DEMEC by May 22nd. The numbers weren't available for this meeting, so it's just kind of an information thing to let you know. Unfortunately, they have to be back on the 22nd, our meeting's the 22nd. So it may require a special meeting to review and possibly approve to move forward with this one.
So that's another meeting that he has to attend.
Yeah, we gotta think through this.
All those in favor of Earl having to sit through another meeting? Say
Aye.
So that's kind of in a nutshell, I mean, it's more of an information thing that they're getting the figures together and we can pass along to the next meeting, but we having a special meeting is the biggest result.
When I did speak to Scott, he did say it's probably gonna be close to that deadline by the time we get those numbers back. So I would anticipate middle of May and, you know.
Middle of May? I like cutting things close. All right. So action is for Sharon to let us know when we have to be here.
Yep.
We could move our meeting to the 21st.
That's my birthday, so.
Oh.
I don't really want to be here.
We can all bring presents though.
All right, now moving on. Item 14. Open forum general discussion on wastewater extension for Hoornkill. Robin?
This is basically the same thing, it's just an update, but there's really, it's just, I guess the update is just that, probably heard what Charlie said at the Monday night meeting, that the NOI was reviewed by WEAC, or at WEAC. This project actually ranked really, really high, it's number 1 on the list for the water. There's also, as Charlie had noted at the meeting, there's possible subsidies on this. And I think he threw out the $700 and some thousand.
Throw out a number.
Is that your fee or is that the?
Half of that is my fee.
That's the subsidized.
Killing yourself.
Yeah, no, the board had submitted submitted 2 different pre-applications known as notice of intents to the state. One for the water and one for the sewer. That also included upgrades to the streets as part of the work because it'll all be torn up anyway. And both on the water side, as Robin mentioned, that was ranked number 1 by the Office of Drinking Water, the number 1 project across the whole state of the most recent pre-applications. I think it was 4th on the sewer side or 3rd. Either way, on both sides, they've been prioritized for funding, and Robin is correct that the Office of Drinking Water on the $700,000 side, which is smaller than the sewer side, has put in there that they have what they call base congressional funds for subsidy. They did not tell us as part of the pre-application process, what the amount would be that would go towards this project, but something. But they did note that they have $705,000 of base congressional funds, and no other project was listed with base congressional funds. We will find out if the project were to move forward and we submit a final application that's due June 21st, I think, 5th, to June 25th, I'm sorry.
And just to put the project in perspective, the reason why the state, or the way it's rated so high, is it's wetlands, it's septic.
Yes.
And we're getting leachate into potentially the bay
Absolutely.
and Canary Creek.
The big reasons why, yes.
So that's why they're funding this, and they're on wells out there also. which have got saltwater infiltration issues.
Absolutely, and that was all described in the pre-application description. Yep,
Yeah, I just wanted to, since we're discussing it, put it on the record now.
yep, thank you.
And just to add a little bit, this is in conjunction with a annexation petition that's being presented to the mayor and council. 6 of the 11 out there, there's 11 properties. 6 of the 11 are requesting annexation.
But this is not contingent on annexation.
No, no,
So
no,
that's also good.
no. No. So the board's gonna have to decide, you know, again, I don't know if it's gonna run in coordination with the annexation. Is it?
Yeah, we're likely to form an annexation study group within, probably in June or July with a new council person coming on. We just completed one for the Warrington property. So we're gonna reform it, has to be a minimum of 3 members, so, we'll probably put that together. We're required to turn that around within a couple of months. So, and again, you know, the point we're making about safety, part of the study looks at does it makes, what's the benefit to the city? And it doesn't always have to be a financial benefit, you know, right? It could be the fact that, be part of the city from a health and welfare standpoint.
So, just to add on to that, as we discussed, the full application for this project is due June 25th. It takes a couple, 3 weeks. That actually made it a little easier. If you have your audits up on your website, you can just give them the link rather than, you know, how we usually print them all out and all that stuff. So it's a little easier, but it still takes a couple, 3 weeks to prepare the application. Make sure everything's all right, run it by Robin and Alston and Kim, and just make sure everything's buttoned up before we submit. So that doesn't sound like that would be in line with when the annexation decision would be made.
But the application doesn't require them to be.
No, it does not. I'm just, yeah.
I think that doesn't prevent you from
Okay,
going forward with that at all. You know,
gotcha.
we'll still commit, you know, if there's some other monies that.
Yeah. I guess the bottom line is that we aren't going to complete the application until the board directs us to do so.
What's your deadline for that?
It won't stop us from doing that. I think we said.
I don't think anything, although there's been a lot of balls up in the air with the annexation and people participating and all that stuff, so, and I'm not 100% clear on all that, but if you were to authorize it, we could get it done fairly quickly and get it submitted.
Well, it seems like it's not tied to annexation.
And if you know,
It's independent.
But
It's a win all the way around.
didn't we have the question about how we're gonna pay for it? You know, whether, details, yeah, whether we're gonna charge by foot, what kind of funding we're gonna,
Does what we do matter on that?
No, we always, you guys can probably answer this better than me, but I know like on other, like Highland Acres and Savannah Place, for example, we develop individual agreements with each of those homeowners that spell out those sorts of details.
Mike,
Yeah, I think the question, Charlie, at what point, so certainly submitting the initial ranking was non-binding. If you submit an application, at what point does it become binding?
They will send, after they review everything, and then it goes to the Water Infrastructure Advisory Council for usually a rubber stamp approval. They will send a binding letter of commitment to the board, and until you execute that binding letter of commitment, you aren't bound to anything.
Right. So you have obviously, you don't want to waste anybody's time, so you want to be serious about this, but you have an opportunity as you're working through these details to pull the cord if you get to that point. So up until it's binding.
Yeah.
But also, I think part of some of the conversations that was happening when the mayor and council was meeting with the residents and stuff, some of the residents might not want sewer and water. But we can't piecemeal this project. So it's gonna have to be whether they're gonna be part of some charge, and that's something the board's gonna have to discuss.
we can work that out. And we've talked about multiple options.
Yes.
But again, so where you are right now, as I understand, is you're at the application where you're requesting that binding commitment. So you've done the initial due diligence, you've gotten the initial gut check, now you're at the, yes, we want to apply, we want to see what's there. And then that's where you are at your decision point. So if the board is interested in continuing down this path to see what commitments are available, it's a non-binding step.
Would we be eligible for any money from the county if they're staying in the county?
I do look at ARPA money left, but I don't.
Yeah.
No,
They spent it.
yeah, because they pre-spent the ARPA funds to free up other monies because they didn't want to, a lot of the ARPA funds were for the wastewater treatment plant.
Just adding on to what both Robin and Mike just said, that it probably is worth it your while to submit the full application, because then all the particulars of the loan and the grant subsidy would be known, which might incentivize those that don't now want to participate, because it would be at less cost to them to do so.
And so I think, do I have a motion to authorize GMB to proceed with the application? And once again, it's non-binding, to Mike's point, and how long do you think it'll be before we see the actual offer or the terms?
Yeah, they're actually quicker than they used to be, but I still think it'll be around September 1st or sometime in September.
And then we should probably put on the agenda a discussion on how to allocate the costs. All right, so do I have anyone make that motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Good.
Okay. Open forum, general discussion on the wastewater treatment plant. So, I hate to do this again, but we have more externalities. And it's delayed the process slightly. Hopefully, within the next week or two, I know I keep saying that, we will have a better path forward, or know which direction we're gonna proceed down. So we will have a workshop as soon as we get enough information to make any type of factual statements, because right now it's all speculative. But we are continuing to work with the county, and things are proceeding along those lines. And Barbara, I don't know if there's anything you want to add?
No, the contingency committee has been disbanded, so I have nothing to report.
I think this band is a little harsh.
Well, they
You served
stand
it.
ready to serve.
Yes, you completed your first task. And
Okay.
you stand in the hot standby status.
Ah, okay. Waiting in the wings?
Okay? So, call to the public. Brenda,
I think I'm doing public here.
could you identify yourself, please?
Everybody's getting used to me. I'm Brenda Apsel for 18 Park Avenue, and I'm here for the community and the Burton subdivision that are concerned about our water. I just wanted to reiterate our appreciation to Tom and to Richard and the staff that met with us last week. We had frank discussion of our angst and frustration, and also I think we have reached some temporary ways of moving forward. So we're hopeful that they will come to fruition. We also had a kind of a temporary, the diffuser that you're going to put on one of the hydrants to kind of temporarily diffuse some of the problem. We're hoping that this money, we can find this money, and I'm asking you all to look in your chairs and sofas for any change. We're going to check when you leave, as Carrie says. Let's rob from Peter to pay Paul, but the community, I'm sitting here listening to all of your financial challenges, and they are mighty and many, and I really am sorry for that, but the community doesn't care. They really want clean water, and we just want to say that this is a really, we think, a wonderful opportunity to show the cooperation that a community's concern can have with BPW and with the city as well, because we'd love you to check your pockets too. We are going to be coming to every meeting until we see the money, and we are continuing to organize. We are going to send out this plan that Tom is writing up that we had some agreement on to the community. We continue our communication with the community. So I think that is all I had to say, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for coming.
And once again, I echo your feelings, so.
And I
This is
think
the way to
I'm-
move forward. And I
yeah.
know both you and Kerry believe that it's best to work in the system, but at some point, only up to some point. So we hear that loud and clear.
I'm glad you hear that. You know, I'm an old picketer from a long way back, so just so you know, we're still hanging out and watching things. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Hold to the press, Bill?
Just want to make sure I understand this rate increase.
It means it's gonna go up,
Right. But,
and your pocketbook is gonna go down.
right. So I just want, this is a temporary rate increase? Or is this is,
Well, we reevaluate our rates every year. And so we already had, this will be until next year, and we'll reevaluate our rates.
so
We
it,
know all of our rates have been low, and we're not sustainable. Hence why a lot of the deferred maintenance happened over the prior years.
so this increase takes effect next year,
It will take effect on the June bill,
this year?
yes.
Okay.
So
So,
the May bill that's going out is our new rates that have already been improved. And then in the June bill, it will include this 10.14% increase.
okay. And you said that this is the average 850 kilowatt customer, residential customer is $11 increase a month?
Yes,
And commercial's 28 and industrial 700? That's the set of numbers to go with, okay. All right, and this is needed because of the plant that shut down in '22?
it's a capacity shortfall.
Capacity shortfall that happened in '22?
Yes.
And it's just catching up now?
Well,
Is that,
so I think that to clarify, there's an open auction every year within PGM for money. And what PGM assumed, and correct me anytime I start getting off course here, what PGM assumed for the rates to recover that didn't turn out because no one built new generation. There's been no transmission lines built. So this black hole of Indian River is now requiring more. And so the generators went to the market and said, oops, we didn't really mean that auction that we paid then. We want to increase our rates retroactively.
okay.
So this is about, yes, that shortfall, but it's about now retroactively, and this probably isn't Renee, backing off of what the auction price was and increasing it.
Okay. And you're trying to recover, it's about 285,000? Is that what you said?
The actual increase will be 540,000
540,000?
for us and up until December,
Okay, December of this year?
yes.
Okay. I think I have it now, thanks. All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And just a reminder, we will be coming out and voting on. Okay, so,
And 9.
Item 9, yes, the
Oh, I'm
Potomac
sorry.
testing proposal.